exactly what I asked you not to do.
Which is?
You're getting very defensive.
Well, I'm not just gonna stand here and listen to this, Ash.
You're not even willing to consider that I might be right.
I'm gonna say this again. You are seeing problems that don't exist.
Did you hear Colleen this morning, Brad? Did you hear how many times she asked you, and only you, if you would come and watch her dance class?
Well, I'm flattered that it means that much to her.
It's a red flag.
Why are you determined to put a negative spin on everything?
I am not. I'm just being cautious.
Where my daughter's concerned, cautious about
Brad,
what?
she's looking to you for something, and it's only human that she would reach out to you this way. It's just the way you're responding. I don't think it's in her best interests.
Are you sure? That's very unusual for Paul still to be asleep at this hour.
He hasn't left his room.
Well, what about his trip?
He canceled the reservation yesterday.
He's not going to Australia?
I don't know what his plans are.
Oh. Well, thank you, dear. Well, how was your walk, dear?
It was nice. It's a lovely neighborhood.
That was Lynn on the phone. Paul has canceled his trip to Australia.
His trip or his flight.
You think he still might go?
Anything is possible.
Well, how about you, Isabella? What are your plans?
I stayed up all night asking myself that same question.
Did you come to a decision?
Perhaps it would be best if I left Genoa City.
Well, I'm going to be candid as well. I really didn't think things through when I invited you to stay here.
You're beginning to reconsider your offer. You're concerned about Paul's reaction if he learns that I'm staying here.
Well, I'm afraid he might get the wrong impression.
Well, I'm leaving anyway. I really don't see any reason for me to stay in Genoa City. Not with the way Paul feels about me right now.
Thank you, Connie. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
Señor Newman, ¿quiere más café?
No, gracias, Miguel.
Mrs. Newman?
Fine, thank you.
El desayuno, como siempre, es absolutamente delicioso.
Muchísimas gracias, caballero. Mrs. Newman?
This was a treat.
I'm glad we had breakfast together.
So am I. Want me to take you into town?
Actually, I'd like to talk a little bit more about this Trisha Dennison thing. You think that she's a threat to Victoria?
Well, she has always resented Victoria. Deeply. And now Ryan McNeil is divorcing Trisha Dennison.
Yeah, well, do you think she blames Victoria for that?
Well, what do you think? Woman in that state of mind, anything is possible.
Well, what can we do to protect her?
I've talked to John Silver about the possibility of getting a restraining order. I've also talked to Paul Williams about putting that woman under surveillance 24 hours a day. Unfortunately, given Paul's personal problems, he can't do it himself.
Has something happened that I should know about?
You've not heard of Christine and Paul's problems in their marriage?
Yes, unfortunately, I have.
Okay. Talked to Paul yesterday. Christine is filing for divorce.
Well, Mackenzie, you're getting a late start. Huh?
We have the day off.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll fix you some breakfast.
What's this?
Don't. Trust me, just. No, don't. Mackenzie, I can tell something is bothering you. Now, come on. Are you and Billy having problems?
Nate?
Hey, little man. What's up?
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Nate, I want you to come here this instant.
Okay, Nate, listen to me. It's okay. But you gotta be with your mama right now, so go ahead. Nate, go on. Look, I'll see you when all this is over, all right?
Will you?
I really hope so, kid. I do. Now, go on. Go to your mom. Go on.
Sorry I'm late. Hey, partner. Ready for some reading and coloring? We have a nice room set up for us. That's nice.
I want to stay here.
All rise. The court is now in session. Judge Donna Brainerd presiding.
Here we go. Christine has filed for divorce. How's Paul taking it?
Well, he was devastated.
I can imagine.
You don't seem that surprised.
Well, I knew there were problems. I've been talking to Paul. I just think it's odd he would throw in the towel now.
You mean he gave you no indication that the marriage was over?
When we last spoke, he fully intended to reach out to Christine.
Well, maybe it was too late.
My heart goes out to them. They were a wonderful couple. Now to think that they might be ending things.
You know how that feels, don't you? I gotta go. Want to give you a ride?
No, thanks.
I enjoyed being with you.
Me too. Julia, see you later.
I want to stay.
We talked about this. Go on.
See you, Daddy.
Is there a motion to exclude witnesses?
Other than the child, no, Your Honor.
Petitioner has no objection to witnesses remaining in the courtroom.
Does anyone want to make an opening statement?
Yes,
We-
Your Honor.
Yes.
It's your petition, Miss Paxton.
May it please the court. My client, Malcolm Winters, was married to the respondent, Dr. Olivia Winters. At the time of their marriage, Dr. Winters had a son from another marriage, Nathaniel, also called Nate, who is now 9 years old. Nate's father was deceased, and a bond immediately grew between Malcolm and the boy. Over the years, Nate came to look upon Malcolm as his father. Unfortunately, Malcolm and Dr. Winters were subsequently divorced. At that time, Malcolm did not petition the court for formalized visitation. There was instead an informal arrangement between the parties that seemed to be working well. Nate was happy, and the relationship between Malcolm and his son prospered and grew. Then, suddenly, without warning, and totally without regard for the effect her actions would have on her son, Dr. Winters cut off that visitation. She had no valid reason other than a desire to punish my client.
No valid reason.
Take it easy, Olivia. We'll have our turn.
Paul, are you there? Paul, it's Nikki. Please open the door.
Yeah. I'm here. Hi. So, I'm really not in the mood for company.
I know. I talked to Victor.
He told you that Chris filed for divorce?
I'm so sorry.
Oh, me too. Come on in.
Come on, let's sit down.
So, obviously you found out before you left for Australia.
Yeah, I was on my way to the airport.
You and Christine have had terrible time.
I don't know if I had gotten on that plane and...
Well, the last time we talked, you seemed determined to see her in person.
Yeah, well... things have changed.
Doesn't mean that you can't turn it around.
Look, Nick, it's not just the... It's not just the papers. Did Victor tell you that he ran into Chris?
No, she was here.
Yeah, briefly. Long enough, I guess. She ran into Victor at Machina's.
Really? Was that before or after you saw her?
Neither. I never saw my wife.
What do you mean you never saw her?
Well, what Victor doesn't know, and what I just put together recently, is that Chris came to the apartment.
When was that?
The night Isabel and I made love.
Your Honor,
My client, Dr. Winters, fully appreciates the need for a young boy to have a male figure in his life. Indeed, she would dearly love for her son to have that kind of role model. A responsible, reliable, mature man with whom he can bond and share world experiences. Unfortunately, Mr. Winters, as he has repeatedly demonstrated, and as the evidence will show, is irresponsible, unreliable, and immature. Now, Dr. Winters did not come upon that decision lightly. A chain of events which started shortly before the divorce and concluded last week convinced Dr. Winters that though Malcolm's lifestyle and personality could lend a little glamour to Nate, it is indeed the very antithesis of what a 9-year-old boy needs. And we are confident that once Your Honor has heard the evidence, you will agree that Mr. Winters has been and will most probably continue to be a corruptive influence in that boy's life. The core issue here is whether Dr. Winters will be compelled to abandon her well-reasoned and fully supported view of the inappropriateness of Malcolm Winters as a role model merely because her son may like or even love Malcolm. And we maintain the answer, once Your Honor has heard all of the evidence, will be self-evident. Thank you.
Call your first witness.
The petitioner calls Mamie Johnson.
That is correct. Malcolm absolutely sees Nate as a son.
And by that, do you mean that Mr. Winters has concern for the safety, education, development, and future welfare of the child?
That's exactly what I mean.
And Nathaniel's feelings for Malcolm?
The boy worships him. There's no doubt in my mind. Nate thinks of him as his father.
Have you had an opportunity to observe Nathaniel with Malcolm after the divorce, but before Olivia forbade him to see Malcolm?
Many times. They got along beautifully. Nate wasn't happy about the divorce, but he made the best of it. He really was coming along very nicely.
Have you had occasion to observe Nate since your niece canceled the informal agreement whereby Malcolm was allowed to spend time with the son?
Yes. I still see him regularly.
What have you observed?
He's hurt and deeply resents the way that Malcolm has been yanked out of his life.
This concerns you?
Very much. I'm worried that Nate could grow up embittered and confused. It's bad enough that he could possibly lose his father, but his relationship with his mother could be permanently damaged as a result of all of this as well.
Thank you, Miss Johnson. Your witness.
Well, Miss Johnson, your description of Mr. Winters is of a caring, thoughtful, wise, responsible, well, flawless individual. Is that an apt description of your opinion where this man is concerned?
I never said that, Mr. Baldwin.
Well, let's start from the beginning, shall we?
Everything's fine between Billy and me.
Well, something's wrong, I can tell.
It's Raul and Rihanna. They're having a tough time. And Billy found out about Jill and Sean.
Really? How do you react?
Didn't freak or anything.
Well, maybe not, but was he surprised?
Well, can you blame him? Kind of weird. I mean, Sean is so young and Jill's...
So old, yeah. Oh, I wouldn't worry about that, my darling.
You think Sean will dump her?
Well, if he has any sense, he will one day, eventually. He will dump her. Yeah. Now, as for your friend, Raul, Rihanna, darling, please don't let their problems become your problem.
They're my friends.
I
can't help it.
understand that, Mackenzie. But don't you understand how happy you have been of late? And I will not. Darling, I just don't want anything to ruin that.
I'll get it.
God knows Esther won't.
Hi.
Hey.
Guess who's here?
Morning, Mrs. Jensen. Good morning. Good morning. Well, I understand that you and Mackenzie do have the day off.
That's right.
Well, I'm not so lucky. I have a board meeting I have to attend, so I've got to run. Mackenzie, enjoy, darling, and Billy.
Sorry. Well,
Talk to you later.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I guess.
I still don't want to talk about it.
So, you agree, Miss Johnson, that Dr. Winters had ample reason to want to retain control of the contact between Mr. Winters and her son.
All I said was some rather upsetting things had happened.
Yes. Like when Malcolm's girlfriend was attacked before the boy's eyes by a dangerous thug in the employ of her husband?
Yes, that happened, Mr. Baldwin. But shortly thereafter, the girlfriend left town.
And my client generously and cautiously allowed contact to continue between Mr. Winters and her son.
Yes.
Until rather recently.
Yes?
Well, let me state this next question very simply. Do you believe that Malcolm Winters is a good influence on Nate?
I believe the relationship is good for the boy.
Oh, has he taught Nate, say, respect for the law?
I don't believe that he's taught him to disrespect the law.
How often has Nate had to lie to his mother?
I don't know.
But surely you don't consider a person who has taught a child to lie to his mother as a good influence.
Children know how to lie, Mr. Baldwin. They do it to protect
But
themselves.
it's generally accepted that an adult does not approve or encourage a child's tendency to lie. Don't you agree?
I'd have to know the circumstances.
Well, let's stop talking in the abstract then, and let me say that for several months, Mr. Winters had been seeing Nate behind Olivia's back, hadn't he?
Yes.
And he did this with your assistance.
Malcolm didn't have to twist my arm.
Oh, so he convinced you and the boy to conceal from his mother the fact that they had been seeing each other. Is that right?
He didn't have to persuade either of us.
Oh, so you and Malcolm entered into this scheme because you thought it was something that Nate wanted?
Partially, yes.
All right. So the two of you, both adults, let a 9-year-old decide what was best.
Of course not. No.
Because that's a mother's job, isn't it?
Yes, Mr. Baldwin, it is. But in this case, she is flat out wrong.
Miss Johnson, you made a fundamental mistake. Because until a judge says she's wrong, she's right. And not you, not Malcolm, not even little Nate can say she's not.
Your Honor,
No
he's
further
badgering the
questions,
witnesses.
Your Honor. Thank you.
Isabella, do you really believe that that's the best answer? For you to just walk away?
Mary, I'm not sure how Paul feels about his wife, or if he even knows. But whether he turned away from me because of my past or because he misses his wife, neither is very comforting.
Before you leave, don't you think you should talk to Paul one more
What would be the
time?
point?
Well, maybe I could speak to him. He might open up and tell me what he's feeling.
Or resent me even more.
Well, there are no guarantees. But don't you think it's worth a try before you close that door forever?
I don't want him to know I'm still here.
Well, I wouldn't have to tell him that.
If you went to Paul, it would just get my hopes up again. And I don't think I can handle any more disappointments.
Paul, what are you saying?
Chris saw Isabella and me together.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I spoke to the doorman, and she was here that night.
Well, that doesn't mean that she saw
No,
you.
she was here, Nikki. When she arrived, she was in a good mood. Then 5 minutes later, she was completely shell-shocked when she came down. So now you understand why my marriage is over, and there's no point in pursuing it.
What about Isabella? I know you have feelings you were trying to put aside while you dealt with Christine. Where do things stand between the two of you?
I really haven't given it much thought. I haven't really gotten past the shock of what's happened.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm certainly not suggesting that you start a relationship with this woman.
Well, it's not like I have a choice anyway.
Why not?
Isabella left town. I have no idea where she is.
I see. Then obviously, Mr. Winters, you have had an opportunity in the past to observe the relationship between Nate and your brother.
Oh, yes.
Describe that relationship for the court, please.
The child idolizes Malcolm, Your Honor. Malcolm idolizes Nate.
How would you introduce him to a stranger?
As father and son.
And as for your brother's influence on the boy?
I would have to say very beneficial.
How do you respond then to Dr. Winters' allegations?
Malcolm has made some mistakes. I'd be very suspicious of any parent who claimed never to have made an error in judgment.
Have you talked to Dr. Winters about her decision to deny my client visitation with his son?
At great lengths, yes. I've tried to make her see the harm I believe she's causing her son by this attitude, and the damage she's doing to her own relationship with her son. Unfortunately, I haven't succeeded.
Have you observed the effect this state of affairs has had on Nate?
Yes, I have.
Describe it, please.
Nate doesn't know where to turn. That little boy has been angry and depressed. This is not a good situation for the boy. Your Honor, it is my strong belief that Nate should be allowed to see Malcolm on a regular basis.
No further questions. Your witness, counsel.
Let's talk about your brother for a minute, Mr. Winters.
Happy to report that our angel is sawing little tiny logs even as we speak.
She's a wonderful baby.
Yeah. Our little girl is wonderful, isn't she?
Is that what this is all about, Ash? Are you afraid I'll have less time for Abby? Less room in my heart for her?
This has nothing to do with Abby, Brad. When Tracy agreed to have Colleen stay with us, it was for the two of you to get to know each other better. Tracy did not want or expect you to step into the role of father figure. And I think if you get too involved in Colleen's life now, you're just going to confuse her.
Too involved? What's too involved? We're talking about my daughter.
That's exactly my point.
The only thing I think she's confused about is why I've been out of her life all these years.
Well, if that is the truth, is now the time for her to deal with that issue? Don't you think Colleen has enough on her plate dealing with what's going on with Tracy and Steve, whether or not they're going to stay together or split up?
You know what? I can't do anything about Tracy and Steve. But I can let Colleen know that no matter what happens, she has a port in the storm. And why you have a problem with that, why you're so anxious to ship her back over to your father's, I really don't understand.
Whether you admit it or not, you have a stake in this outcome. I know you. And if Tracy and Steve don't stay together, you see yourself as having a completely different role in that girl's life, Brad, and you know it.
This is something that I've wanted for a long time. To have a relationship with my daughter. And I guess I've been closed off to it because I didn't think it was possible.
Honey, you're making my point. My father is much more objective in this situation, and I think it's a healthier environment over there for her.
She asked to be here. She's enjoying being here.
Maybe it doesn't mean it's the best place for her here.
So you've made up your mind, huh? You want her sent back to your father's no matter what.
I'm sorry, Billy. I don't mean to push.
No, it's all right. The less I talk about Sean and my mom, the better. Besides, I'm really worried about Raul and Rihanna.
Me too.
You know what really gets me? JT. No,
Billy,
no, Mac, relax, all right? I'm not going to attack you again for standing up for JT being a part of the group. I just don't like dealing with the guy. I shouldn't take it out on you.
Thank you.
If Rihanna still has feelings for the guy, then they were bound to come out sooner or later.
I just wish I could do something to help them, you know?
You know what? No. We are not going to get all heavy.
But Billy is...
Mac, this is our day off. All right, let's not spoil it.
What do you have in mind?
Well, you and I are going to do something we haven't done in a very long, long time.
What?
We're going to have a date. You know, I mean, since we got back together, we've been so busy with the Globe Bow House and school. We really haven't had a lot of time for each other.
So we're going on a date, huh?
Yeah. You free?
I think I can squeeze you in.
Oh, well, lucky me.
So what are we gonna do?
I don't know. Whatever we do, I'm sure it'll be perfect.
As long as it's just you and me.
Yeah, just you and me.
Well, Mr. Winters, it's obvious that you want us to believe that your brother is a model parent. But do you also believe that he is a model citizen?
I don't know what a model citizen is, Mr. Baldwin.
Well, generally, in the course of his life, has he exhibited a great deal of self-discipline?
That depends on what you mean by a great deal.
Has he ever exhibited any discipline at all in life? Come on, Mr. Winters. Isn't your brother notorious for having absolutely no self-restraint?
I wouldn't say he's notorious for that.
Well, then you grew up with the man. Describe, if you will, the difference between yourself and your brother as children or young adults.
I know what you're getting at. I was square, worked hard. Malcolm was wild, goofed off. Didn't do particularly well in school. Does that disqualify him as a parent?
We are debating whether he is to be awarded court-ordered visitation to a child he never bothered to legally adopt. Now, isn't it the truth that even today he is still remarkably undisciplined? Wild, if you will.
I don't believe that. He's come a long way.
Then, can you tell me if, when confronted with a decision, your brother can be counted on to do the right thing?
I feel he can.
Do you trust your brother enough to have him make important decisions that affect you?
Objection, Your Honor.
All right,
It's
I withdraw
irrelevant
the
material.
question and I'll cut to the chase. Do you feel that it is the responsibility of parents to teach their children certain values?
Yes, of course.
Like telling the truth?
Malcolm and Nate have been faced with extraordinary circumstances.
If you mean by that out of the ordinary or not common among responsible people, I'd have to agree with you, Mr. Winters. But who do you feel is responsible for these extraordinary circumstances.
I'm sorry. But there's no doubt in my mind that it's your client, Olivia Winters, who's responsible.
That's exactly what I expected you to say. No further questions. Thank you.
Who is it?
It's your mother, Paul.
Hello, dear. Look, Mom, I'm really not up for a visit.
I know what you're going through, son. That's why I'm here.
I think we should just break this off and talk about it later before it gets out of control. Because, of course, I'm not going to force Colleen to go stay with my father, Brad.
That's not what I meant.
I do think we should step back and rationally look at the situation. Maybe it would be a better place for her over there.
Sweetheart, I hear what you're saying. I just don't feel it's a problem. Colleen is going through a very rough time right now. But she doesn't have an agenda. You know, even if she did, we're in charge, we're in control. It's not going to get out of hand.
You know what I think? I think it already has, Brad.
I am trying to create a relationship with my daughter. It mystifies me why you can't see how much that means
I
to
do
me.
see how much that means to you. And I see how much it's beginning to mean to Colleen. Do you realize that right now you could be changing the course of that girl's life? She and Steve have always been extremely close. Don't you think they deserve the chance to
I'm not
regain
trying
that,
to take her
Brad?
away from Steve. That's not my
You've got
intention.
blinders on.
You're wrong.
I don't think so.
I'll go get her.
No. No. I'll go.
You may step down, Mr. Winters.
Michael, what are you doing?
Hang on.
Ready?
Yeah, let's do this. You're not going anywhere, are you, baby?
Are you kidding? Come here. I'm here for you all the way.
That's just what I needed to hear.
Counsel for the petitioner, call your next witness.
Petitioner calls Malcolm Winters to the stand.
Just one moment, Your Honor. There's still one thing I must do. Miss Parrish, this is for you.
What is it?
It's a subpoena. I'm calling you as a witness in the case. Yo, what?
Join us again for The Young and the Restless.